Well, Seymour, I made it, despite your directions.
Ah, Superintendent Chalmers, welcome. I hope you're prepared for an unforgettable luncheon.
Ah.
Oh, ye gods! My roast is ruined! But what if I were to purchase fast food and disguise it as my own cooking? Ho, 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 ho. Delightfully devilish, Seymour.
9 CFR Section 319.81 defines roast beef that is either parboiled or steam roasted. So either way, whether this is a steamed ham or a roast ham, the U.S. Code has something to say on it. And in particular, the code says that roast beef parboiled and steam roasted shall be prepared so the weight of the finished product, excluding salt and flavored material, shall not exceed 70% of the fresh beef weight. So the first question I'd like to know is whether or not in either roasting the ham or in steaming the ham has been prepared so as to comply with this section of the United States Code of Federal Regulations.
I was just stretching my calves on the windowsill. Isometric exercise. Care to join me?
Why is there smoke coming out of your oven, Seymour?
Oh, that isn't smoke. It's steam. Steamed from the steamed clams we're having.
However, Principal Seymour Skinner here, in misrepresenting that the smoke is from steam rather than from an ongoing fire in his oven, is almost certainly guilty of reckless endangerment. Unfortunately, we don't know what state this is occurring in, so we'll have to just go with the generic definition rather than a specific state definition. But reckless endangerment is a crime consisting of acts that create a substantial risk of serious physical injury to another person. Here, an ongoing fire, which when a person inquires, you deliberately lie, mislead to them, creates a situation that I think at law would constitute a reckless endangerment, even if no harm actually ultimately arises, which it doesn't here. Nevertheless, the crime of reckless endangerment is complete once you have put them in a situation where there's a substantial risk to that person, namely smoke inhalation or fire or other danger from collapse of the structure or otherwise due to this ongoing inferno in the oven.
Steamed clams.
Ooh.
Well, Principal Skinner, this is really not that great a plan. What you're contemplating doing could be considered passing off a false designation of origin, which is a violation of the Lanham Act, Section 43 of the Lanham Act to be in particular, which is now codified at 15 U.S.C. Section 1125, which defines that any person who, or in connection with any good or service, or container for any goods, uses in commerce any word, term, name, symbol, or device, or any combination thereof, or any false designation of origin, false or misleading description of fact, or false or misleading representation of fact, which is likely to cause confusion or cause mistake, or deceive as to affiliation, connection, or association with such person with another person, or as to origin, sponsorship, or approval of goods, services, commercial activities by another person, shall be held liable by any person who believes that he is likely to be damaged by such an act. So Krusty Burger has a potential cause of action here under the Lanham Act because goods that are being used in a commercial context are being passed off, misrepresented as to the false description origin, and is being used to cause a false or misleading association between the goods in question and what is actually occurring. So not such a great idea here, Principal Skinner. I think you have some problems under the Lanham Act.
Superintendent, I hope you're ready for mouth-watering hamburgers.
I thought we were having steamed clams.
No, I said steamed hams. That's what I call hamburgers.
You call hamburgers steamed hams?
Yes, it's a regional dialect.
Uh-huh. What region?
Upstate New York.
Really? Well, I'm from Utica, and I've never heard anyone use the phrase steamed hams.
Oh, not in Utica. No, it's an Albany expression.
I see.
While there are no specific laws dealing with designation of origin as it relates to terminology as it relates to hams, there is designations with relation of wine. Now, this will be familiar to many of our European brethren where terms like champagne are a restricted term because all champagne, strictly speaking, must come from the Champagne region of France, and there are other terms similar to this in European law. This is a relatively late addition in U.S. law. This has not been a thing until relatively recently, but there is some designation with designated American viticultural areas specifically for wine. So while there are no regulations dealing with the issue for hams or clams for that matter at this point, if it were wine related, you have to be careful because you cannot misrepresent wine as coming from one region if it comes in fact from another region.
You know, these hamburgers are quite similar to the ones they have at Krusty Burger.
Oh, no. Patented Skinner Burgers. Old family recipe.
Patented Skinner Burgers. Patented Skinner Burgers. What am I? A joke to you? As your favorite patent lawyer, I do take patents somewhat seriously. To answer the first underlying question, yes, you can obtain a patent on food or recipes. There's an entire patent class for this, patent class number 426. But your biggest problem is it needs to be novel and non-obvious. And when it comes to something like hamburgers, non-obvious is going to be pretty hard because pretty much every combination has been tried, and any combination that hasn't been tried is going to be a pretty obvious variant of those that are. So I don't think it's probably possible to get a patent on a recipe for a hamburger because hamburgers are so well known in the art. I don't know that there's any non-obvious step left, but hey, what do I know? Maybe there is some sort of unique combination still left to be discovered. So if you want to get a patented hamburger, you can, but Seymour Skinner, don't use a term like patent, just casually throw that around. Man, this is my life's work. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
For steamed hams.
Yes.
Yes, and you call them steamed hams despite the fact they are obviously grilled.
You know, one thing I should... Excuse me for 1 second.
Of course.
Oh, well, that was wonderful. Good time was had by all. I'm pooped.
Yes, I should be. Good Lord, what is happening in there?
Aurora Borealis?
Aurora Borealis. At this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen.
Yes.
May I see it?
While it is legally impossible to defame the government as a whole, nevertheless, I am offended on behalf of the National Weather Service. Don't make them look like liars. The Aurora Borealis has well understood places where it does and does not exist, and it does not exist within the confines of your kitchen, sir.
No.
Seymour! The house is on fire!
No, Mother, it's just the Northern Lights.
So now we have reckless endangerment of two people, one of whom is an elderly person. And as all law is fact-specific, this law is fact-specific too. A person who is in good physical health, such as the superintendent, would have an easier time to escape any potential danger. So what is reckless endangerment with respect to the superintendent is not legally the same as reckless endangerment as it is to an elderly person or a person who's otherwise not able to fully take care of themselves. Law is fact-specific, so when you're talking about what puts a serious risk of injury to a person, you look to that person specifically, and obviously the mother up here who is elderly and less able to move quickly is in greater danger due to the reckless endangerment and gross neglect of Principal Seymour Skinner.
Well, Seymour, you are an odd fellow, but I must say, you steam a good ham.
Principal Seymour's blatant lies to his poor mother might also comprise elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation under United States and state law as well. So on top of the reckless endangerment charge, there are specific laws dealing with elder abuse and neglect. And as the caretaker for his mother, I think that these laws are most likely triggered. So that's additional criminal law violation, definitely on a state level and potentially involving some federal implications as well. Well, my friends, that is all. This is Steamed Hams, but it is a law review. I hope you're well. Until later, my friends, cheers and goodbye.